Welcome to the Album Anniversary Podcast. Today's show is about Local Honey by Brian Fallon. It was released March 27th, 2020, so it is celebrating a 5-year anniversary.
In this life there will be trouble, but you shall overcome. They'll hurt you in your heartstrings, they'll leave you in the dust. But you do just like I told you. Stand strong and hold your own. Soft answer quiets wrath. A gentle whisper breaks a bone. I can tell you.
I'm your host, Caleb, or Caleb the Spy on social media. Every day on social media, I do post about what I call album anniversaries. So, on the Album Anniversary Podcast, we take a look at a classic album, an album we love, or an album that's important to us on the anniversary of its release date. Albums on the show do often focus on alternative rock, punk, and my strange obsession with ska. In the 90s, I was super into the Christian music scene, so that does come up often on the show. Today, I'm joined by my internet friend AJ to talk about Local Honey by Brian Fallon. Before we bring AJ in, though, I do want to mention another album that was released March 27th, 2020, and it's the Suicide Machines release, Revolution Spring. It is one of the best punk albums of the last 5 years, in my opinion, and it also happens to fall in my top 150 albums list. So that's how good it is. There's not a ton of albums from the last 5 years that fall in that list. We're talking about one of them here in a couple minutes, but that is another one. Both are released on the same day in 2020. So if you like punk rock and you missed that album, you should definitely go check it out, especially if you like those first two Suicide Machines albums that were kind of just infused with a little bit of ska. You should totally go check out that album if you missed it. So Revolution Spring by the Suicide Machines. Again, support the show, and maybe in 5 years, I'll do that album. AJ, welcome back to the show. My most common guest, I think. Not common. What's the word? Reoccurring. My most reoccurring guest, I believe.
So do I get a title belt, or an award sent to me? How does this work?
I think last time I promised you a jacket.
That's right.
We did still promise. Have not gotten you. Sorry. All
right. Enter the Happy Gilmore quote about gold jacket and green jacket. All right.
Oh, we watched that as a family last year, and my kids loved it. I could not. I thought, I don't think a lot of this is going to land. My kids were quoting it for weeks to the horror of all of their grandparents. But man alive, they thought it was hilarious. I couldn't believe it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then we were at a hotel, and it was on. And the greatest part about it is, oh man, there's the line where he goes he said something about, he called somebody an apple. I'm going to have to beep this episode. And
it wasn't my fault. I'm
I know. They switched it to this jerk or something. And my kids thought that was the funniest thing forever. So they were running around calling each other jerks because they knew it would have been replaced for another word. It was pretty hilarious. So that's a weird tangent to start on. So
no, look, let's be honest. We've been talking for over an hour before we
right.
Record,
yes.
So we've already gone on about 20 tangents, and then finally we're like, I guess we should record.
So I will say, let's start where we usually end. And I want you to have a chance to pitch you've started a new podcast. You've got season 1 is pretty much all out. I think it's all out at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you have another season coming up of your podcast. So let's start there, and then we'll do it at the end. But tell people about your podcast and why they should go check it out.
Sure. The podcast is Crashing the Political Party. It comes about from I pay the bills by being a researcher that in part focuses on third party and independent politics. About half to 2/3 of Americans, depending on the poll, say they want more political options. Well, those political options already exist out there. They're not always the easiest to get information on. It's not like they're getting a lot of interviews on major news networks and whatnot. So we do the podcast. We bring them on, and we allow those parties and their candidates to kind of explain who the party is, where people can find more information and kind of talk about their experiences of either campaigning or if they've won, kind of talking about what it's like to govern as a third party and that experience. But again, really aimed at making it easier for Americans to learn more about their political options out there. If people are seeing what's happening in our politics and don't like either of the major political parties, there's others that want to try and get in office and have a voice too. So trying to give them a little time and space and make it, like I said, easy on people. Life's busy. But people are driving to pick up groceries and whatnot. You got about 30, 45-minute conversation that you can break up over the course of running some errands where you can learn more about some of your options.
Yeah. I think a good little palate cleanse to maybe, whether you're excited about what's going on or you hate it right now, I think it's a good other perspective that you can kind of take in. So I like the idea of politics from a third point of view is probably something I think would be helpful for us. So we've gotten political already on this episode. It's out of control.
Well, the nice thing too is like we don't just only have one side. Like we've
Mm.
got like candidates from all over where there's stuff that, if you agree with a certain point of view, you're going to be really happy one week and you may not be happy the following week. And another thing too is like if you're tired of like the yelling and the shouting that comes with it, like I ain't yelling and shouting at my guests. And I take them serious too. Like that's what somebody noted that to me. Like I got a text one time. It was like, you took the guy serious. I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, why wouldn't I take them serious on there? But there's no shouting, there's no yelling. Like I was talking about trying to get somebody on the show. I was like, this is not some hard hitting interview. I'm not trying to get ratings here. I'm just trying to help you get people to know more about you and your party.
Yeah.
That's kind of the pitch. So if you want to hear about politics and not hear screaming at people, and just kind of want to learn information in kind of a low stakes, pretty calm environment. I think people have heard me on this, people have heard me on the Everglow show and stuff like that. Like it's me at my most like, let's just talk. I'm
Yeah.
just learning. You're helping, I'm learning, the people listening are learning. It's nice. It's pleasant.
Yeah. My dad has a political science degree. He went my dad was super, super poor in northern Minnesota, and he graduated like third in his high school class, and it was this big deal. And he literally was heading down to the University of Minnesota, and he was like, I don't know what I wanted to study. And one of his teachers was like, well, you really like this political science class. You should take political science. And like it's a family joke that like, what do you want to do if you have a political science degree? And our family joke is you want to work on the docks. That's what you want to do. And so like I've never met somebody who's like actually does get to do political science for a living. So it's pretty cool.
Mhm.
It's kind of like become now the family joke is that we say like, oh yeah, you want to work on the docks or you want to teach or you want to be AJ. And like, I can kind of be like, I actually have a friend now who like, he does this for a living. Like, how cool is that? And it's come up with my oldest, who's starting to think about college
Mhm.
stuff, and she had to choose between one class, and she was like, "Should I take this political science class?" And I was like, "Well, does it get you a credit?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "She's like, what would I want to do with that?" And I'm like, I honestly I don't know, but I do now know somebody who did something with a political science education. So there you go.
Yeah.
You've
Well,
bucked the trend of our family.
it's also fun too because like one of my best friends is a mechanic, and so
Hmm.
then he'll get questions or somebody will say something in his shop, and he's like, "Hold on, let me text. Is this real?" And I can chime in and be like, at the very least, just say like that was an Onion article or whatever. And so it's super fun that I have become this resource for like this mechanic shop out in Arizona.
That's
So
hilarious.
happy to do it though.
That was the Onion. Which is amazing that they still occasionally get people and that people haven't learned that you see that green banner, chances are not real. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you got to pitch the podcast. I
Thank
say
you.
with that out of the way, let's jump in and we'll tackle this
Yes.
very non-political album.
Yes.
I don't know who that might be. Hope they cheer you up like crazy, sweep you right up off your feet. No, I don't want you to grow up, 'cause I don't want you to leave. When you're ready to choose someone, make sure they love you. Make sure they love you.
We're talking about Local Honey by Brian Fallon, released March 27th, 2020. This is my second album of 2020 that I'm covering. So I've now started to do a couple albums that are only about 5 years old. So that's kind of cool. And I do in the intro, I say classic album. Maybe doesn't totally fit this yet, but obviously an album that is important to both of us. So only 5 years
Mhm.
old. And for anybody who doesn't know, Brian is, of course, the lead singer and lyricist for the Gaslight Anthem, which is a band both of us love, and I'm assuming is kind of why we were originally attracted to Brian Fallon's solo work.
Yes.
Yeah. This was put out on Lesser Known Records, which is lesser known. There's the joke just writes itself on that one. I didn't look up what else they put out. I don't know if it's just something for him, if it's something he does, but Lesser Known Records, I think they do other things actually. It's not just like a totally independent label.
Okay.
And then it was produced by Peter Caddis, which he has worked with some pretty big names. Death Cab for Cutie, Gangs of Youth, Interpol, the Local Natives, and the Nationals. So some pretty big independent sounds. I do not know anything else about him outside of those people, but that's who he has worked with in the past.
Up until like the National got mentioned, I was like, this is a weird producer for this album. And then you
Yes.
mentioned National, I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense a little bit.
Yes, yes, we'll get into it, but yeah, none of those fit the general sound of this album at all.
Right.
Yep. There are 3 singles from this album, and I'm going to be honest, there's only 8 songs on this album, so we're probably going to say something about almost
talk
all,
about
of them.
all of them.
Yeah,
We are.
there's no
We are.
reason not to. But the 3 singles from this were You Have Stole My Heart, which is the last song, and I think it was the first single, which is pretty
crazy.
funny. Yeah, 21 Days, and then When You're Ready. Sorry. So those are then song 2 and 1 as well. So 3 singles from this 8-track album, which is pretty fun. It did receive mostly positive reviews upon its release, as far as I can tell. The All Music gave it like 3.5. American Songwriter gave it 4.5. Exclaim gave it 8 out of 10. And Kerrang, which I don't know if I say it right, gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So mostly positive reviews is where it came in on. Nothing overwhelmingly. I don't think it ended up on like any year-end lists or anything like that, but mostly positive.
It ended at number 1 on my year-end list, and that's the important one, okay?
Is that true? 2020
Yes.
was your favorite album of the year?
Yeah, this is my
Wow.
favorite album of 2020.
I don't know if I had a list in 2020 because I was just trying to survive, but
So I thought I had my list done, and I sent it to Steven, who was on our first Go Talk to Your Internet Friends episode. That's on Patreon available. Look at me plugging your other stuff.
Nice work.
And I was like, yeah, I sent it, and I realized, I was like, oh no, those are the contenders. I never actually ordered those. I was like, he's like, you have the used really high up? I was like, I have to go back and look at this, and I realized, like, oh, I hadn't ordered it. But yes, Local Honey is number 1 for 2020. And the previous one you just talked about, a couple episodes ago, Brave Faces, Everyone from Spanish Love Songs, number 2 for 2020 for me.
okay. And then those would both be up there for me, although I did not listen to Brave Faces Everyone. I'd said it on the show. It was a couple years later before I really realized how amazing that was. But if I was making a retrospective list, it'd definitely be high up there. And then the one I mentioned at the beginning of the show before we jumped on, the Suicide Machines, Revolution Spring was a high one. So yeah, it's been fun to kind of look at, like, you're hitting the 5-year mark on some of these, and 2020 was a weird year, but had some really, really great music. So
Yes, it did.
and this is gonna be a bad edit because I totally just looked something up because I was spacing on something. My favorite album of 2020 was No Dream by Jeff Rosenstock. I love all these albums, but that was by far my favorite album from that year. So anyway, random. There's a lot of good albums from that year. It's interesting.
There is, yeah.
It's almost like something crazy was happening in the world, and the art got really good. Although a lot of these came out before that, because this came out
but
right as the world shut down.
Right, just like with Spanish Love Songs,
Yeah.
which these are like my not only number 1 and number 2 album for 2020, but these are like my pandemic albums. Like
Yeah.
they very much made me think of the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, this album, again, despite what we said, like this came out right as the world shut down again, like the end of March. It did chart pretty well, especially for kind of a smaller album. It did make it onto the top 150 on the Billboard charts. The one I found really interesting, the one chart information I found is it made it to number 4 in Scotland. So Scotland loves Brian Fallon. I have no idea why, but number 4 on their charts.
All right, Scottish people got some sense. All right.
Yeah, so it's super, like when you look at the chart ranking on like peak position on Wikipedia, there's one that really jumps out at you, the number 4 one, and it's Scotland, the Scottish albums charts. All right, that is all I had for fun facts, to be totally honest. So with that out of the way, let's dive in and tackle this album.
Let's do it.
Another friend. When it's over, we do the leaving, we do the crying, we do the healing. And they say 21 days till I don't miss you. 21 days till I don't miss you.
So we'll start with our question we always start with is, how did you first discover this album?
Honestly, probably from Brian posting on it in social media. Like, I follow Brian Fallon on social media. So I gotta imagine probably when he had the first single announced, he probably said also, hey, new album coming out. So that would be my guess. There's no wonderful story there, just social media.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really boring on this one as well. I'm very late on the Gaslight Anthem, but not late on this. I think 2000, I want to say 2000, I don't know. It's about a year after Get Hurt comes out. I think that's that last album.
Yep. Yeah.
So it's a little after that. So I was late on the Gaslight Anthem. I had not really dove into them until after they had broken up, but then became really, really a pretty big fan. And then this one, I was well aware of it. I don't know if I got it day one, but I got it pretty much right away. I was listening to this in 2020. I know. So this was another, also a pandemic album for me as well. Maybe not as much as some other things, but this, because my ska deep dive. I loved ska, but it was like a ska revival in my heart for 2020. That's totally what the pandemic was for me. It's a weird thing. So awesome. That's pretty straightforward. That is the most straightforward answer I think we've ever given on the show for how you discovered something. So.
I'm not asking for your forgiveness. Couldn't run if I wanted to now. Say that you miss me. Tell me sweet little lies. You and me, Vincent. After night, won't be home for a while.
We'll get into the big one now. We've been going fast so that we can really just stretch out these next three questions. So what is it?
I got lots of things to say.
Yeah, I'm ready. I have things I want to say. So yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what is it that you love about this album?
So there's lots of reasons I love this album, but I think that this is Brian at his most vulnerable as a husband and father, right? And that really resonates with me because I'm both of those things, right?
Yeah.
Like in my case, I've got a wife that I love and 4 little chaos gremlins running around that I also absolutely love. So this album hits me right at the core, right? And what I also kind of like lyrically is that, well, Brian usually writes about, failure, successes, nostalgia, and like all those things are sort of here. Like Local Honey feels different, right? Like it's kind of like taking a look at like almost the beauty of like everyday life and domestic life, which is like something you don't hear a ton about in like rock and roll. Again, going to like the pandemic point, right? Like it came out as everything was shutting down and we're like hunkering down pretty hard in the state that I was in. And so like my whole existence that wasn't like a computer screen was at the time my wife and daughters, my sons weren't born yet, but it's a very domestic album at a time when like domestic life was kind of becoming my only life. I also love that this is Brian's country album, right?
Yes.
Like after putting out a couple of like blues rock records, I would almost say the first 2 solo records, like this is something kind of more softer and more intimate, and it works really well. And it's my favorite of his solo albums, and I love all of them.
Yep.
Plus only Brian Fallon could write like a heartbreakingly beautiful breakup song about quitting smoking.
Yes.
Like, who does that?
Yeah. It's the title track, 21 Days, and I played it for my family today, and I was like, this sounds like a really sad breakup song, doesn't it? And I was like, actually, it's about him quitting smoking. Right. And like, it's just puts this whole other twist on it, which is absolutely hilarious. I also love that, like, I'm not a country guy at all. Like, I'm just not. But like, this is, I'm so glad he leaned into it because it works with his voice. It musically, it's just every performance on here feels like it's like touched with something special,
Yeah.
and it just works. And like, if I'm going to listen to a country album, this is the one I want to listen to. It's absolutely, I mean, it's just, I'm glad he leaned into the Americana nature of this and just went with it.
Yeah.
So from a lyrical perspective, I know we joked about the smoking one, but you're right. I think it does feel really personal. And I was reading an interview where he described like the idea of like, he's trying to write about just like being about right now, which I think is a little bit of interview speak in some ways, but it also really helps you understand maybe why it hit so hard for so many people during the pandemic, where like you said, like everything became about right now. Like, just what are we doing right now? Because what are we going to do in 2 weeks? Nobody knew. Like, nobody had any idea, which I think also adds to like some of the personal nature of this album and some of the lyrical depth of this album.
Absolutely.
The other thing is, I mentioned his vocals, and I think how perfect they are, and it's the warmth in his vocals, which like he shows that in bits on the Gaslight Anthem, but he really, really like him and the acoustic guitar, that warmth comes through so much. And like, there's moments, and then he'd show it again on Night Divine, which the Christmas album that he did, and it's kind of almost like it almost feels like he's kind of practicing for that. And like, can I really do this? And it's just those two albums. I know like I think some people don't love that he really leans into it, which is awkward to me because it's so
They're my
good.
two favorite solo
Yeah,
albums.
I totally agree. And like his warmth on this, I think, is also what makes it super endearing, and it doesn't feel cliche at any point, in my opinion,
Right.
which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't feel like performative at all. Like, even lyrically, given the genre, like that's, I think often I struggle with that genre at times because it feels performative, in a way that I know all music is performative, but in a way that it doesn't, that I don't like. That seems like not only performative, but like not authentic. And this feels very authentic, very warm, very much from the heart.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's. I mean, I don't know what the title "Local Honey" means. I've always taken it to mean like you're buying local honey. Like that's my assumption, is that he, like, that's always been my assumption. I think I'm totally wrong, but that's totally what it makes me think of, is like somebody who's like stopping by the farmer's market and picking up the honey that somebody down the street like gets, which is like a weird way of thinking about this album. But the part of the reason I do think that way is that I have it on vinyl, and it's totally honey colored. Like the vinyl is like this, like it totally, like I had somebody over at my house recently, and I was showing, I put that on because it's a great record to have on while
Yeah,
guests
no,
are
actually,
over.
yeah, I agree.
It's perfect. And they were like, oh, I've never seen, they're not music people. And they were like, why is it colored that way? And I'm like, oh, it's kind of a new thing that everybody puts out colored vinyls now. And they're like, oh, I thought they were always just black. I was like, no. And I think this one it's called Local Honey. And I think it's supposed to look the color of honey. And like, they were like, oh, that's super cool. And I'm like, so I don't know. I think that also adds to the, like, this just feels like him living in a small town for a bit and like just kind of embracing that like homeland.
Yeah, it's a domestic act, right?
Yeah,
I take my kids to the local farmers market and stuff like that. And we buy local honey.
Yeah. So I don't know.
From
That's
a person we know the bees that make the honey that we buy, right? And so like I think it's a great title for this, again, domestic album, because it is a domestic act to go to the local farmers market and get the local honey.
Yeah.
In the hallway, in the dark of my room. Yes, you're alive. In the hallway, in the dark of my room. You've been alive. In the hallway, in the dark of my room. And do you feel any better now? They set me on fire, and I did a lot of burning. They told me I didn't know things I thought I knew for certain. But I don't mind. And I
So obviously we've kind of already touched a little bit on it, but like, what is it about this album that makes it so important to you?
So I think it goes back to what I said about this like album hitting two of my most important identities, right? Being a husband and being a father.
Yeah.
And also some of my favorite lyricists are the ones that I grow alongside.
Hmm.
And that's definitely the case with Brian Fallon, right? From Gaslight Anthem to Horrible Crows to his solo work, back to Gaslight Anthem. I've always felt like his music evolves in a way that like has mirrored my own life a little bit from like this young punk full of heart searching for my way in the world
Hmm.
to his old graybeard, right? Still full of heart, but with five people who form the core of what guides my way in the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, basically with Local Honey, I feel seen, right? Like there's so many tracks that I deeply relate to, and we were talking a bit about that before jumping on, right? Like but I've always connected with Brian's writing because, like him, I spend a lot of time reflecting on the past, the future,
Hmm.
like both personally and on like a societal level. Like him, I also have like this nostalgia for like dive bars and punk rock and broken hearts and big dreams of my youth and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like focusing on the present is harder for me, and sometimes I get the feeling that in Brian's writing, it's kind of harder for him too. And
Hmm.
so like, it doesn't feel like that on this record. And so when I slow down and think about like where I am right now and I get grounded in the present when I do that and I think about my wife and my kids and the love we all share, right? Like my present feels like this record.
Hmm.
Um and I've joked before that with you, I think maybe on our Patreon conversation, that like the Gaslight Anthem often feels like a band made by bringing together like my grandpa Les and me.
Hmm.
He would not have liked most of their music, but would have loved their lyrics and aesthetic, right? Like
Yeah.
he was an old greaser from back in the day, right? And this album feels like it's something that like he and I could have listened to together to the point you were making. It is such a great vinyl record to put on.
Yeah.
Like I can visualize, putting on my vinyl version of this and sitting outside on the porch with him on like an early summer evening, drinking some rum and cokes and just chatting about life together, right?
Hmm.
Like so, there's lots of different reasons that I think this kind of jumps out to me. What about for you, man?
Yeah. I mean, so this comes in 115th on my. I have to now caveat this because I'm working on a new list, but my 200 or my 2022 list of all time favorite albums. So again, making it pretty high for a relatively new album. I mean,
Hmm.
only within the last 5 years, and I think it is the warmth of it. I mean, I think that is overwhelmingly what it is that warmth that he brings to it, and I think it is the idea that it's a country album that I really like. I think that is one of the things that really jumps out to me. And I'll just say it, and I think we'll talk about it probably more when it comes to the talking about the actual songs, but like that idea of being a father and, like, and being in love with my wife still,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this album, as I was prepping for it, I posted about it today. Like I broke down twice today
yeah,
crying and then one more time later. So three times today, this album made me cry. And I'm not that emo, but holy cow, like this album just stirs something in me that
yeah.
I cannot believe. I think it's become, I always have these things like, people talk about like seasonal records, and I don't do that.
Hmm.
I don't have seasonal records, which is I guess I'm the weirdo because I don't do that. But I have these things that really make me think about certain aspects of my life,
Hmm.
and they get like Bob Dylan is just this automatic attachment to my father. Like there's just
Hmm.
it's always going to be that because of that. The song June Hymn by the Decemberists is before this album came along, it is like, and it's still in contention with it. It is like my ultimate think about my kids song
Hmm.
because it's a song he wrote about his son. And it came out right after my third child was born. And it just became like when that song comes on, I'm just consumed with thoughts of my kids growing up.
Hmm.
And so like, I think that is it for me is that it's the first track. It's When You Were Ready. Like he pulls on something, my dad heartstrings, he pulls them apart.
Yeah,
And that is why this is going to always be a record that I think means so much to me. And it's so damn listenable. Like
yeah,
it's just nothing is jarring.
yeah.
It's so amazing. So I totally just rambled on for like 20 minutes. Jeepers.
I loved it though, man.
Oh, but yeah,
Because it's similar to mine, right? Like this. This hits us right in the heart, man.
Yeah, it's amazing how much he does it on the Gaslight Anthem, but on this,
It's
it's like,
different.
yeah, it feels like a whole other level of like that
Yeah, I agree.
connection to the
Feels
people
like
around
yeah,
you.
deeply personal and deeply
Yeah,
connective. Yeah,
yeah, it's amazing.
yeah.
Hats off to you, Brian, that you listen to this podcast.
And I'll take it to my grave no matter what they do to me. 'Cause they'll never know what it costs you to be old. But to me, you're a dream, a divine mystery. And I'm lonely for you only. I'm lonely for
Here we go. We're just not even going to front. We're going to probably talk about every song because I think I have
Yeah.
notes for every song.
I have notes for every song as well.
So I'm not going to ask what's your favorite song. Let's just do
Alright,
that. Let's go
let's
track
do
by
it.
track.
I agree. Let's
And
go.
let's church hymns now this thing
Yes.
and see if we can not go 3 hours. Sorry,
We got the
Caleb.
first hour out of our way. We'll
Yeah,
only go
exactly.
two.
Exactly. Okay, so first track is When You're Ready. And again, this was one of the singles.
Mhm.
And I already just made a mention of this, but I don't know your thoughts on this. This is an opening track and this is a song in general.
And like opening tracks, I see them as like thesis statements, right?
Yep.
Like it's planting the flag of like what this is, what this album's going to be, and this is deeply, again, personal to the conversation we were just having. Like as a parent, right? You have these like fleeting thoughts like related to the subject matter of this track, and
Yep.
and it will just hit you, right? The way like Brian's talking about, like it just this kid's coloring and it hit him. This hits me right there every
Yep.
time. I had recently like a deep in my soul realization similar to this track relatively recently is the annual daddy daughter dance that we do here.
Hmm.
I was helping my very excited oldest with some buttons on her dress as she's getting ready, and it hit me that like one day in the not too distant future, I'll probably be helping her get ready to spend time with somebody else that she's excited about in a whole different way, and
Yeah.
that like I started crying at that thought. You know, uh, because like Brian Fallon, I hope whoever that is treats her amazing, and I look forward to being with her through it all. And the same goes for all her siblings, right? Like such a regular occurrence, and then I had like a very emotional version of that recently, where it's just like, yeah, that's a little thing. I was helping her button up her dress as she's getting ready,
Yeah.
and I had to like finish that and then go step away for a second
Yep.
over the daddy daughter dance. Man.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. The chorus for this song is I'm going to not make it through this. I can't tell you who to love. I don't know who it might be. I hope that they cheer you up like crazy, sweep you right off your feet. Though I don't want you to grow up because I don't want you to leave. When you're ready to choose someone, make sure they love you half as much as me. And I'm not doing daddy daughter dances anymore. I have a 17-year-old in a month or two. And it's like, we really are staring down that idea that,
Yeah.
we have two that are leaving soon. And
hmm
we joke all the time. We were talking beforehand. My oldest son has gotten really involved in this robotics team, and he's gone a lot. And we have been jokingly telling him, "We miss you," but we're kind of joking and kind of serious because we just miss his presence around the house. And you'll be done with this soon. It's a really intense season, but like that thought of these kids stepping out into the world, like
hmm
I cannot bear it in some ways. Like I want them to go flourish
Right.
because I'm so proud of them
Yeah.
and who they are. They're four people that I like being with, and I don't like being
Right.
with very many people.
Right.
And I love being with them. And it's like it kills me that they're going to leave at some point. And that line, the third verse is like he's watching this kid color, and I have kids who still do art, but they're not coloring in their pajamas. I get this vision of a kid coloring on the floor in their
Yeah.
pajamas. But like it just rips me up inside because I'm like,
Yeah.
he nailed it so much. Like, yep, make sure. And I'm sorry, I'm just totally bogarting my own conversation here.
Do it, man.
We-
It's your show.
We've started to understand, like, as you probably have seen this in friends of yours, like who've made really bad decisions about who they marry. like, and who they decide to spend their life with, like that really does have a huge impact. And so like we have started to talk with our kids about this idea that like you do have to choose that person wisely. I know that is totally taking all the romance out of it, but you need to at least consider those things. Cause like, man, make sure that person is I hope they're as excited about you as I am. And if they're not, like, nope. Cause like, yeah, you have to make those decisions. And he just nails it with this song. And yeah, I just tear up every time I listen to this song. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to 21 Days. And now I'm full on crying, even though I know what this song is about. I still cry in this song. It's crazy. So 21 Days is the second track.
Yeah. Like, look, I'm not a smoker, so I can't relate to the devastation it brings someone to lose that ritual, right? Like,
Right.
smokers, I know some that talk about it as like this ritual, this activity, this thing that they do, this presence that they have. But I can relate to like deep feelings of loss related to things, situations, people that like maybe don't make sense on the
Yeah.
outside, like looking in. Like you have to experience it to understand why it feels like this devastating breakup when it's over. And so, I can relate to it on that, that way. But
Yeah.
it's incredible. And again, it shows his like lyrical depth and like I don't know, obviously him quitting smoking and drove to it, but I don't know if this was like a challenge from somebody to be like, hey, write how you're feeling about that or not.
Right.
In a song, and he nails it. It just shows like his class
Yeah.
as a songwriter that he can take something like that people I think might just kind of wave off like it's quitting smoking to be like, no, like it is this friend that you have, it is this ritual that you have, and you stop doing that, and it does mess with you a little bit. You can understand that.
Yeah. And I think his class shows up in that I think this is intentionally the wordplay on this is
Hmm.
done. So it's like you are, unless you do the digging, you're never going to know that this is about that. This is just a great breakup song.
100%, I
I
agree.
mean, but it's so clever with like, we used to spend or we used to have morning coffee together
Yep.
and I
Right?
used to breathe you in. Like those
Yeah.
are like,
Those are beautiful romantic words that you might
yeah,
use to describe a spouse.
exactly. And it's done so well. So like, I feel like it started as like almost a joke. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm totally
No,
speculating,
I
but
agree with you.
either way, like it is a masterclass
Yeah.
it's a Bob Dylan-esque masterclass in wordplay to take this and to make this very serious presentation. And that's the thing too about these first two songs is musically they're just perfect. Like they've
They're
got a
perfect. They're
little
catchy. They're
tempo.
easy to
Yeah.
sing.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're tempo, but they've got tempo, but they're soft. They're catchy. They're
Hmm.
so easy to sing. So yeah, it's like these first two songs, and you can tell why these were singles. But yeah, I think that 21 Days is just like such a masterclass in playing with words.
100%.
All right, so we go from smoking to then the murder song. So we'll talk about Vincent.
Yeah. Right. Like this is a bit of an interesting song for
Yeah.
this album. It's not him writing directly about his life, but instead doing a really sad and beautiful story.
Yep.
Right. It is my least favorite song on the album because of that. It feels out of place, but it's still a really great song. Like a bad Brian Fallon song is still really fantastic. It's not even bad. That's a poor choice of words on my part.
Right.
But again, just it doesn't fit with the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe it would have made sense somewhere else, but it is a really well done song. And it is just again shows his class as like this storyteller, this idea that we've talked before about like the Gaslight Anthem is like if Bruce Springsteen listened to more punk records.
Yeah. Yep.
It kind of shows up here of like, oh yeah, he's influenced by Bruce in many ways,
Yep.
and this kind of comes through here.
Yeah. The Jolene reference I think does like it also makes it a little standoutish like
Yeah.
for the album and like feel like you said like feel out of place, but then he does rope it in with like the tender way in which
Hmm.
the chorus ends with like because I may not be here like
Yeah.
I may not see you for a while. And so
Yeah.
it's interesting how like even within that like brutalness there still is this tenderness that he still comes through. And it is a very interesting song considering the rest of the songs on the album. But I think the chorus is pretty, the way it ends, it still kind of pretties it up and softens
Yeah,
it
yeah,
enough
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah.
it makes it work well enough on this.
Hmm.
Wow, we only talked about that one for like 45 seconds. That was good. So the next song then is the end of side. Yeah, the end of side A, if you have this on vinyl, is I Don't Mind, parentheses, If I'm With You.
I don't know about you, but this is like such a Midwest like winter track about marriage for me, right?
Sure.
Like it's cold as all heck. There's snow on the ground. It's more than a little miserable, but like I'm cozied up with my wife. It's so bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, I also think this is relatable for me because Brian talks about being kind of like lonely when he and depressed when he was younger, and he doesn't when he's with his wife.
Yeah.
Like, that hit pretty close to home for me. Which is again why this feels like I feel very much seen in
Yeah.
this album. What about for you, man?
Yeah. So I looked it up and so he was afraid of the dark as a kid. And so it
Oh,
in the bridge, it makes a direct reference to the
yeah,
nightlight in the hallway. So
yeah,
it is a direct reference to that feeling that he
yeah.
got as from that nightlight in the hallway and how it made him feel safe.
Safe,
And
and then his wife makes him
yeah,
feel that
and
way.
how like
Oh
kind of a
man,
current
it's so
relationship
good,
can.
so
Yeah.
good lyrically. Come on.
Yeah. So I think that, and I think it's one of the best choruses on the album. And they're
Yeah,
all, I mean, it is saying something, but for some reason, the chorus on this one really, really stands out, especially with and he's pretty straightforward on this. It's verse, chorus, bridge, chorus
yeah, yeah.
pretty consistently, but
Hmm.
I think that fits with the country Americana
Yeah, yeah,
ethos.
yeah, yeah.
But this one works really, really well. That bridge into the chorus, there's something just kind of magical about his voice on the chorus, in my opinion, on this one.
Hmm.
All right, we flip the record and we go with Lonely for You Only is the start of side B.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful track about
Yeah.
loving someone and kind of like wanting them to be like honest and vulnerable with you as part of like this real connection, right? Like I love so many of the lines in here, right?
Yeah.
Like I simply ain't the first thief, honey, hold up on the cross. Like, oh man, that's
Mm,
a good one.
yeah.
Tell me all the vicious things that no one knows but God.
Yeah.
But to me, you're a dream, a divine mystery. Like, oh man, I wish I could articulate myself like Brian can.
Yeah.
Like, my goodness, man, like those are also devastating. Like, I write books. We've talked about them on here before. If I could write lines like half as good as that, oh man, that would feel really good. But
Yeah.
I'm not Brian Fallon, but man, that's a good one.
Yeah. There one of the lines, the standout line for me is that because they'll never know what it cost you to be whole.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that feels like there's something deeper there that I don't even totally understand, but it's such a it makes you think so deeply about oh, what are those things in your life that have cost you to be who you are, and that to articulate that is amazing. That line is always almost from day one kind of stood out, that idea of
Hmm.
some people will never know what it cost you to kind of be whole and be who you are, and what you had to fight through to kind of not feel broken, which is amazing. So, and then I also, just from a musical perspective, this is the song where the drums are seem a little pushed forward more than the rest of the album, and so it gives it a nice, especially as the start of side B. And I don't know if that's just me and when I notice them, which could be totally a Caleb flaw, but I
Hmm.
do. The drums kind of stand out on this
I would
song,
agree.
and it's a really, really nice start to the second half of the album, which you kind of need a second opening track if you're going to listen to this on vinyl. And I think
Yeah.
this one does a really good job of kind of pushing that energy through the second half of the album.
Hmm.
Well, let's move on then to track number 6. I don't have as much to say about these next two, but Horses is the next track. What are your thoughts on that one?
Um, I really dig it, right? Like it's like another incredibly beautiful song about how important someone is, right?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, like, this is one of the beautiful line about like Angel speaking his wife's name into existence.
Yep. I think
And
it's got that
then
one. Yep.
right, and it talks about being there for her through like the dark and heavy times. Like, man,
Yep.
that's the good love right there. I think that's the goal, right, for folks is to have that love that you want to be there for them and that you feel like they were like made just for you.
Yeah. What I love about this one, like we talked about it on the little Patreon thing we did about how a lot of like the Gaslight Anthem has like kind of religious overtones.
Hmm.
And there's a line from this. I don't think it's from the chorus. I think it's from one of the later verses. And it says, "And in this life, change comes slowly. There is time to be redeemed. Any lie you told can be forgiven
Given.
if you love enough to believe."
I believe. Yep.
And it's like there's something amazing like from a religious perspective. I kind of feel that I feel like I can relate to that, but also like from a spousal, like from my wife perspective, like there is time to be redeemed. Like life does, that change comes slowly, but like if you love enough to believe in that other person, like all these things can be forgiven. And like, these things that you struggle with or you disagree on or you fight about, or even the way you hurt each other, like there is this chance for redemption even within a marriage. And I'll throw out the caveat because I know that's probably not true for everybody. Most marriages, there's some stuff that people do to each other that you can't. But
Right.
we're gonna look at this
Of
from
course.
our. I'm gonna speak
Of
to
course,
my
of course.
space.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's your show, man. Speak from your
Yeah.
your space.
But I think it's
thankfully-
pretty amazing. Pretty
Yeah.
amazing lyrically what he gets at there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Again, these little things that you can go through the lyrics 10 times, and each time you find something new that you're like, oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. And then it kind of transitions into another song that I feel like is kind of about redemption. It's the penultimate track, Hard Feelings. Again, he kind of just hits on that with those two songs. And they work really well together. I
Yeah.
think they're kind of really placed real well, kind of after coming off of the lonely for you only. And then you got
Yes.
these two songs about kind of redemption.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Hard Feelings?
Like, right, like I love that it's this track about like how hard it is to be vulnerable and to love again after someone has destroyed you.
Hmm.
You know, I, I know some folks, right? They're lucky enough to have that. They meet that person when they're young, and it's the only person they've ever, been in a relationship with and that they loved. That's not the case for everybody.
Yeah.
And when you struggle, when you have bad experiences, like it's hard sometimes to move past that again and to get to the good.
Right.
Like it's scary. You end up carrying that weight for a bit, and then then it if you're lucky, I suppose, you get to a place where you can kind of let all that go and love again, and those hard feelings
Yeah.
fade away if you just let yourself take that risk. And so I think that's a very, again, relatable song. I really just dig.
And then we come to the closer. See, look how fast we can go through even these. I think we're both hyped up. But so track 8, which again, only 8 songs on this album. It's You Have Stolen My Heart, which was the first single.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on this song?
I have the note here. Oh, come on, Brian. Are you trying to make us cry? Right? Like I feel you in me, inside of my ears, inside of my bones. And
Yeah.
part of me stays in the room where we met. Like,
Yeah.
what? And he's not even done yet, right? Like everything slows with my breath as I watch you float across the floor. I know that you're still with me. I have this fear one day I'll wake up and you'll be a dream.
Yeah.
And now if you need me, you know where to find me. Always be falling under your spell. Like, man, if I again ever write a book with lines as beautiful as this, I will be a lucky man indeed. Like, oh,
Yeah. Yep.
dang, man.
Yeah. It's he has said that this was his first attempt to really, really write a love song. Like this is one where he really tried to
First attempt, best attempt.
yeah, he really tried to just go with it and like write this very vulnerable love song. And so it's the last song that he writes on the album, I heard.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of this like almost all of the rest of the album has been kind of leading up to this.
Okay.
And then it's
Makes
like
sense.
hey, I'm just gonna really throw it out there. And I think the
Right.
other ones kind of just fell there and like kind of fell into place. And this is the one where he really tries to throw out this love song and really write that. And
Yeah.
it's again, it is. It's I cannot not think of my wife when I
Yeah.
listen to this song because it's just like yeah, the idea that like yeah, I don't want to wake up and think that you're not a dream. And like I'm not trying to paint our like relationship as
Yeah,
perfect, but
yeah,
like
no, of course, no.
there's nobody I want to get through the rest of this life with outside of her, and it's like whatever else can fall away, it can go, but like she's the person I need to stay with me. I need her by my side through the rest of this life, and that's totally what this song makes me feel when I hear this song. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
beautiful, man.
I think it's a great closing track, and like
Yeah.
the other thing that I really love about this, I think the percussion on it is really, really interesting. There's like these subtle clacks that
Hmm.
we probably need Kylan to tell us how they're doing it. I'm sure it's something they're doing with the drum, but like there's this clack that happens that just adds this really interesting aspect to it. And his vocals on this I think it's the best vocal performance on the album because he does that falsetto thing that you don't hear him do a lot of,
Yeah, yeah,
and he kind of just goes for it, and I think it really
yeah.
really works. And then I love at the end where the band kind of drops out and it's just his voice and the acoustic guitar to close out the album. It's
Hmm.
really pretty. I think they're
It
just
is, yeah.
the way they kind of this whole performance on this, the way that the percussion rises at the kind of in the middle of the song and then it just fades to him and that acoustic guitar. It's just the perfect way to end this album, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No, you're right, man. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, there you go. We went through all 8 songs. We don't do that on, I don't think I've ever done that on an album on this show, or we've gone through every song. On the Killers one, we maybe came close because it's only like 10 on that. But I don't, I love Hot Fuss, but the second half is not as strong, in my opinion, of that album. So I think we skipped a couple. But there you go. We've never done that. So there you go. That's what you need to do, people. Make an album with only 8 songs. It makes it really easy to do.
Time in life and a little distance until I can be with you. And in our love, we find forgiveness. And in our fear, we learn to see. And in my chains, I saw us running. Free as old, pretty horses in my dreams.
Why should someone 5 years later, this isn't that old, but why should somebody go check this album out?
So I think this is gonna be a bit of a long answer from me. So forgive me for rambling, right? Like we've hit on this already, I think a bit, but like as like dads and husbands, right? Like we relate to it in a really personal way.
Yep.
Like it resonates, especially with guys like us who have been in those roles for a while, but it serves as kind of like maybe a look ahead for those just starting that journey.
Hmm.
So like if you're newly married, if you're thinking about starting a family, this album almost feels like a preview of what is to come,
Yeah.
right? Like it captures like this like quieter, more settled side of life, but in this way that's like still feels full of passion and purpose. Like it's got this like it feels to me very much about like finding meaning in a life that you've built,
Hmm.
you know. And I think this album really hits because it kind of reflects the reality of like love in these like really small, beautiful, everyday moments that come with that like more settled life,
Yeah.
that don't get written about, right? We often see in music these big grand gestures being written about, and it's not necessarily that. Like it reflects this like more realistic version of love.
Hmm.
Really makes me think about like waking up early to get the kids ready for school and checking in on your spouse after a long day and being
Yeah.
present when you're exhausted, which I really struggle with. Like it's, and again, that's not always there, right? But Brian Fallon captures that in like this really honest and beautiful way. I also think that this album is, you know, again related to this bit is like a great example of like positive masculinity, right?
Hmm.
Like there's this idea in music, especially in like rock, that like being a man means being like tough and reckless and like emotionally closed off, and like Brian entirely flips that script here, right? Like he
Yeah.
shows us that like being strong also means like being present, being kind, being open about love and fears and hopes and everything in between, right?
Yeah.
It's like a reminder that you don't have to be stoic or hardened to be strong. You can be gentle and loving while still being like reliable and steady.
Hmm.
And it's also really refreshing to hear an album where a man fully embraces like family life, right? Like there's no bitterness, no sense that he's lost something by settling down. Instead, it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
Like like the message is like what matters most is that, and he wouldn't trade it for anything. And I think, that's maybe something a lot of people need to hear.
Yeah.
I also think, like, at least for me, like, I hear these songs and I feel them, like, in the soul because of that. Like, it's
Yeah.
one thing to say that being a good husband and father is important, but it's another to hear songs that, like, capture the emotions of what that really means in, like, an authentic way. Like, that's what makes, like, Local Honey special to me. It doesn't just tell you, makes you feel it because you can tell the singer really feels it and makes those of us that live it feel seen in a way that just, again, a lot of music doesn't.
Mm.
And this goes back to like we talked a bit about like on the album anniversary Patreon about like the genre that Brian Fallon comes from. Like those tunes feel real in a way that like other types of punk rock and emo music and whatnot doesn't.
Yeah.
Like you believe it. And it's the same thing for Local Honey. And this kind of connects to it, talking about kids and stuff earlier. I was reflecting on this album a bit. I definitely thought that like I want to sit each of my four kids down as they get older and tell them the goal is a partner that would make something like this.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like ultimately that's what I think makes this album special because man, it's what life and love should feel like.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, nowhere as articulate as that. So my feeling for this album, why I think you should check this out, is one, I think it is an amazing example of somebody trying to explore something that they have not explored previously. And
Yeah.
I make that comment because, like, again, I think the reason we've talked about it ad nauseum, the reason we love the Gaslight Anthem is that nostalgia. Like, it makes you feel nostalgia for things that you may have never done, which is an amazing gift. Both him and the Menzingers do that. Like, they
Uh-huh.
make you feel nostalgic for things you've never done. This is then him trying to focus on just now.
Yeah.
And that idea is like, I think we all need that because
Hmm.
there's very few of us who are living a all-star, rock star,
Hmm.
glamorous life. The vast majority of us live a life where we work a job that hopefully we don't hate, that we like parts of it, we don't like other parts of it. We have things that we do that I've got to keep up with the dishes, which I don't love. I don't get to spend as much money as I do on certain things. Those are just restrictions that we all live with. But there is, like you said, an amazing beauty to be had in that. And this
Yeah.
is somebody who wants to explore the beauty of nostalgia, but he flips it and he just wants to focus on right now and why it's great. And I think we probably all need that. I know I need that. I need to be reminded why right now is really, really great. And you only have so much time with your kids and you only have so much time with a partner. And before, yeah, they do, well, hopefully your partner doesn't move on to bigger and better things, but your kids do. They're going to leave my house, and I hope that they go on to live these exciting, amazing lives that they feel super, super fulfilled. And their thoughts on their father and their mother are, I'm glad they set me up to do that. That they don't feel like my childhood with kind of a frustration, but instead seeing that, like, oh, I was set up well to go be who I should be. And so I think that idea of like, this is somebody who just really is taking what he's never done before and doing it and then just succeeding at it in such a way.
Yeah.
And like, I need that. I need to be focused on just now because I found other things to like fulfill. I do the podcast for, it is a bit of self-grandization. That's not a word. I made it up, but like, it is that. Like, there's no way I can't play the card of like, I don't want to be famous. I've said this on the podcast before. I do. I'm doing 2 podcasts. Like, there is a bit of me that wants that. And this kind of actually is a good reminder in like, nope, this is a side thing. This is for fun. My focus is on this family and this partner and that sort of thing. And I think that's pretty amazing that you can get that from an album. It feels like something I should be getting from sermons, but here I am getting it from a Brian Fallon album. So good on you, Brian. Thanks for taking me to church.
That's a good way to put it, though, man. That was a beautiful, beautiful answer there.
Anything else on that one?
No, man, this has been a really awesome conversation. I've had, like, two of my favorite conversations I've had in like the past month have involved you, man. Thanks for that.
This and the org core of all
Yes.
places.
Yes.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was a good time.
That one, I there was something like special about that in my
Yeah.
opinion, because it was just like, what's this throwaway comment Caleb made?
Yeah.
Let's
It
talk
turned
about
into a
this.
2
And
hour
then
conversation.
and then it was pretty amazing to be like, oh, this is why, man, it relates well to this. Like, this is why this is, see, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you said that, because this is why music is great. Like,
Yeah.
this is why, for me, music is so powerful. Like, it can be that connection point between people. It can be that, like, that needed spark in your life that, like, just kind of helps remind you of the things that are important to you. And, like, I love how certain musical things remind me of other things. And this has become one of those albums that, like, this just reminds me of home. And that's a pretty amazing thing to get. Oh, excuse me. That's a pretty amazing thing to get out of an album.
Yeah, 100%.
Somebody wreck you again. There's a slow song playing from a baby blue Mercedes, singing when I get to heaven, there will be no more.
There you go. That's our breakdown of Local Honey by Brian Fallon. Again, released, it was not November, March 27th, 2020. So that is 5 years old. Pretty amazing. Again, clearly an album that means something to both of us, which I think is pretty amazing for an album only 5 years old. So, AJ, I know you already talked about your podcast, but where can people find that podcast, and where can people find you online?
Podcast is up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else Kylan puts my podcasts that I don't know about. And then people can find me on Twitter at AJ Simmons 1987. I try to do separate accounts for separate things, and that just got too hard to do. So you all get the Chaos Goblin. You all get things like this, talking music. You're gonna get third party and independent politics. You get political science research more generally. You're gonna get pop culture. So if you get me randomly being like, wrote a book, forgot about that. I've been meaning to tell you all. So you're gonna get all that chaos on there, but I gotta be honest, that might be it creates for an interesting timeline
Yeah.
for like people that follow me, because people will follow me for one reason. I'm like, I'm so sorry, that's only about 10% what I do on here. But it does make it easier on me to only have like one account. I have a separate one for crashing the political party just for that, but like I try to separate out. No, AJ Simmons 1987 at Twitter. You'll usually also find me at least in one of the album anniversaries you post in the day. There's usually one I can find something that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this one. Or like, you guys need to go listen to these 5 tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where you can find me, is
Yep.
responding to Caleb's posts.
That is the one thing I wish I would have done, is I wish I would have made an album anniversary podcast Twitter account and tried to kind of get all of the like anniversary posts to just start coming from that account. I probably still could do it, but at this point it'd be way too hard, and
Right,
I've worked too hard to actually get enough people to hang on my current one. So like,
right.
not that I think it's part of me, it just doesn't want to talk about, like, I threw out one sports take, and it was like people, like, I immediately lost like 5 followers, and I was like, okay,
Is
sorry,
it when you
Kansas City.
attack the Royals? Yeah, Jersey.
No, and it was
That's what.
Kansas City Chiefs. It was like
Oh,
a
the
joke
Chiefs.
about the
Okay.
Super Bowl, and it was like, I didn't even care. Like, I was just making the joke that everybody else made.
Right.
I had no vested interest in who won the Super Bowl. I didn't care. Well, AJ, thanks for joining me. Thanks for sitting through my random sports rant here, which I don't know if I'll even
That's-
keep in. So it might be
that's
at the
all right.
end, people. You might need to go there and listen. But thanks for joining me. Thanks for talking about this album. I'm glad I found somebody to talk about this album with, because I needed this album today, especially
Yeah.
as I finalized getting ready for it. So yeah,
Yeah, man. Well, thank you for having me. This is a blast.
awesome. And I'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Yes, yes.
More looks behind the curtain.
Yes, yes, yeah. All right. Go talk to your internet friends.
Everything slows at my breath, and I watch you float across the floor. And the night came as it went. I could swear that I knew you before. And maybe on another night we were lovers in another life. And maybe we were only strangers on mystery trains. You were only a ghost who was stolen my heart away.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Album Anniversary Podcast. I want to say thanks again to AJ for joining me. Again, he is one of my most frequent guests. You can see why. He's great to have on the show, great insights. So, really appreciate him joining the show to talk about why he loves this album and why it's an album that's important to him. What did you think? What did we get right? What did we get wrong? What are your favorites from this album? You can find me on all the social media sites still. I'm on Twitter, Caleb the Spy. I'm also on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. Look for the Chickadee. I'm pretty easy to find, Caleb the Spy on most places. You can also email the show at calebthespypodcast@gmail.com. Again, that has an S at the end, calebthespypodcast@gmail.com. And I'm also on Patreon. I've started a Patreon. That one is the one that's a little different. It's the Album Anniversary Podcast. If you search for Caleb the Spy, I don't think it's going to help you. Sorry about that, but I'm on Patreon, the Album Anniversary Podcast. All of these episodes are going on there, and there's also extra stuff that's going on there. I have started to do, semi-regularly. It's a little series that AJ named called Go Talk to Your Internet Friends, something like that. But that's what we do. We just sit around and talk about kind of random things, sometimes music related. We're going to do some other things. But you go join. There's no cost. I'm not doing Patreon for a cost right now. It's just a place to kind of have a different place to have kind of a different community, try and build some people up there and see if people can join me over there. So again, Patreon, the Album Anniversary Podcast on there. If you do want to join the show, I think the easiest way to do is email me at calebthespypodcast@gmail.com. I have a running spreadsheet where I just keep things going. I have all my shows planned for most of the year. And I'm already starting to work on 2026. People have hit me up about shows for that. So that's the easiest thing to do is email me. I have a list of people I send out looking for hosts that's all I'll do when I start planning 2026. I'll probably send out a spreadsheet and ask people to sign up and ask people to take spots that they're interested in. Just an easy way to kind of build this community of people who want to talk about these albums. I've spent way too much time on this already. This outro is out of hand. It's getting late on a Friday night and I'm getting goofy. Did I say to subscribe to the podcast? Maybe I did. So if I said this twice, my bad. Please subscribe and share the podcast. If you're so inclined, leave a rating or review. I have heard it is an effective way to spread the word about podcasts. If you enjoy this podcast, I'm going to say podcast 10,000 times in this outro. If you enjoy this podcast, you might also enjoy the other podcast I do with my friend Scott. It's called I Survived Youth Group in the 90s. It's not just a podcast where we reminisce about our youth and our youth group experience. We're trying to interview fellow 90s and 2000s youth group kids and just talk to them about their experience. We want to know where they're at now, whether they've left the faith entirely or they're still at the church they were raised at. We just want to hear their story and how that youth group experience has impacted their life. Thanks again, and we will talk to you soon.
If you need me, you know where to find me. I'll be always falling under your spell. And everything slows at my breath as I watched you float across the floor. And the night came as it went. I could swear that I knew you before. Like maybe on another night we were lovers in another life. Or maybe we were always strangers on mystery trains. You were only a ghost that has stolen my heart away.
Okay, sorry.
Is it when you attack the Royals? Yeah, jersey.
No, it was
That's what.
Kansas City Chiefs. It was like
Oh,
a
the
joke
Chiefs.
about the
Okay.
Super Bowl, and it was like I didn't even care. Like I was just making the joke that everybody else made.
Right.
I had no vested interest in who won the Super Bowl. didn't care. No, my
I forgot
uniform
it was
tapes.
the Super Bowl till the night before. When I came back from the store, and my wife was like, I was like, "Hey, why is there football stuff?" And she's like, "The Super Bowl's tomorrow."
That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna record a podcast that night, and I was like, I'm assuming you want to do this before the Super Bowl, right? And he's like, Oh, I forgot it was the Super Bowl. I can't do it that day. And I'm like, Okay, that tracks. Because I was the one thinking about it because I was like, no, I could care less about that. My uniform takes don't tend to upset people, but that is a goofy one that will occasionally come out in my timeline. It's mostly music, then occasionally I have sports uniforms that I want to talk about, which is a weird.
Well, it came out. I was like, I think Caleb's a Twins fan, but like, there was no like context of like not a Royals fan, but like, hey, thoughts on this? I was like, did I miss that Caleb is a Royals fan? Because it's
No,
like that's
no,
my they're relatively close to where I'm
yeah,
at. And so that's why I was like, hold on, did I miss this? Because I'm a Diamondbacks fan these days, more
okay,
from where I grew up in Arizona, but because of roots and stuff, a bit of a Cubs fan as well. But increasingly Royals, it's like almost like I gotta find the underdog. They're kind of like an underdog team that's like understated. And so I briefly got very confused. I was like, I swear I've seen him in a Twins hat before, but am I wrong? No,
yeah.
he just has thoughts on sports uniforms. That's a whole new podcast you should do is
Yeah, and
Caleb
it's
talks
specific.
sports
I don't
uniforms.
want to because there's like an actual market for it,
I'm
like
kidding.
the UniWatch thing and that sort of stuff. But like that, oh, I don't know if I'll leave this in, but that pale blue, like my favorite baseball is baseball from the 80s. I think that is the
Okay.
best time frame to watch baseball. It's when you start to move out of the 70s where the guys were like chain smokers
Right.
and like they, didn't really care about their bodies. Like they didn't actually exercise. And the 80s, like guys start to realize like, some guys start to realize like cocaine makes you better at baseball. And then some guys start to realize that like, oh, if I take care of my body and like I work out all year, like I can make more money. And then some guys start to use steroids. So there's some good and bad with it at all. The cocaine and steroids generally bad. Kids don't do that. But the rest of it is it's this interesting time in baseball where like people start to take it more seriously. They start to take some of the more analytical approach, although just a little bit. So they don't overanalyze it. So there's still like bunts and stolen bases, and you have all
Hmm.
these like fun aspects of it. The bad part about the 80s is you have some horrible stadiums where the AstroTurf is just
That was terrible.
gross
Yeah.
looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you get those, that's the 80s is when there's this huge rise in the pale blue road uniforms. Like the Brewers do it, the
Hmm.
Cardinals do it, the Royals do it, the Twins did it for a while. I think some of them started in the 70s, but like they really come to like a whole bunch of teams have them in the 80s. But they're road uniforms. They're
Hmm.
always wearing them on the roads and people love them. But now all these teams go and they wear them at home and it bugs me. And it's like my weird obsession about history being, I like baseball history and probably more than I like actual baseball. And it bugs me that the Twins are wearing this road uniform at home. No, wear it on the road where you always used to wear it. It's a throwback to a road uniform. You should not be wearing at home. And the Twins did it, and now the Royals are doing it. I love the uniform. It looks perfect. They should be forced to wear it with stirrups, though. That should be an MLB rule. Every player should have to wear stirrups. If I'm gonna run the league and like run it straight into the ground in like 5 months, but that is rule number one: stirrups. Every last player has to wear them because they're perfect, and the Royals should be wearing those. They should be wearing them on the road. Okay, rant done. That's
See,
not
you need a
staying.
podcast. You need a
Yeah, I
podcast
don't,
so you
because it's
can
just gonna
talk
be
about
random rants about wear stirrups and light blue uniforms on the road.
Patreon content, man.
The
Patreon
Yankees
content.
can now have
I,
beards.
I know.
Who cares?
Nothing matters anymore
I
in this
just
sacred. Nothing's sacred. Jeez.
people were like treating it like it was a big deal, and I was like, who gives a crap? They can have beards. I don't care.
Right.
So anyway, there you go. Join me for sports talk every Monday through Friday on this podcast. No, I'm not going to do sports talk. I don't care enough. So